Gemini, I thought we agreed you would stop sneaking into my offices. If you wish to speak, you should have simply called ahead.
Yes, because we all have those fancy little communication devices, and you're so well known for taking unwanted visits from other members of the council. Besides, I don't sneak in without good reason.
Well then, why are you here?
How have you been sleeping lately? Peacefully, I hope? No nightmares, or rather, daymares?
I'm sure you already know that to be untrue. Is that what this is about then? Are you also having dreams? They had better not have been caused by your ilk. You know how seriously I take these things.
Oh, Siobhan, your words wound me. I'd never think of it, especially when the safety and stability of the domain is at stake. And of course I know. I wouldn't have snuck into your chantry if I didn't. Also, your security is atrocious. Not one of your apprentices spotted me.
I'll ensure they're properly punished for such failings. So tell me then, what have you foresaw? We should collate our findings before bringing them to the rest of the Primogen and to the Prince.
Yes. Blood shall soak the earth, evil shall rise. The sky shall become fire, and the weapons of war shall destroy our harbour of pearls. Blood shall soak the earth, evil shall rise. All the stars of Europe shall be captured and extinguished in chambers of suffocating void. Blood shall soak the earth, evil shall rise. The rose of France shall be caged, liberated years later. Blood shall soak the earth, and evil shall fall.
That is worryingly similar to my own visions. Have you foreseen any solutions? A way to avoid this future?
Siobhan, I respect you too much to accuse you of being so foolish to think there's any way of avoiding this now. The war has been declared by the Kine. The best we could do is try to puppet it from the shadows and ensure we are protected. Wars have always been good cover-ups for purges. Or inquisitions.
Oh, I thank you for thinking so highly of me. But you can't blame me for having a modicum of hope. But you do speak the truth. Already my own resources are being affected by the war, and I doubt this is to be the least or the only of our problems. My people in Westminster tell me that conscription efforts are soon to go into effect, which I'm sure our blue-blooded colleagues would loathe to hear.
Yes, I'm sure Artie and Lugie are going to love the next few years.
That's Prince Galahad to you, Gemini. You know he does not suffer disrespect.
Yet he keeps Logar on the council.
Gemini?
Yes, I'll keep my thoughts to myself. Now then, how shall we tell Artie and Lugie about this whole debacle? Must you always insist on meeting in such public locations? It makes discussing business rather difficult.
Huh? Oh, yes, of course. But I'm sure you'll find a way. You always do. However, you must admit these new pieces are simply exquisite. You can see the heartache of the artist in every brushstroke.
Very well then. I'm sure even you have heard the news. War in Eastern Europe. Surely this can't be good for us. If all our staff end up dead in Berlin, it leaves us wide open for a takeover.
Oh, Logar, you worry too much. You really think a failed painter turned politician can lead a proper war? He got rejected from a Viennese art school. Twice! I doubt he can hold a brush, let alone a rifle.
So you have been keeping up to date. Wonderful. But you can't be serious. The man may have failed in his artistic pursuits, but that hardly precludes him from turning to politics. From what my German contacts tell me, he's quite the charismatic fellow. Some say he's too charismatic.
Well, I highly doubt any of my business partners took interest in him. Viennese. Twice. Maybe it was one of yours?
What? I'd have heard if he was one of mine.
Have you ever considered taking up painting, Logar?
No, I haven't. What does that have to do with anything?
Shame. I imagine you'd be quite good at it.
Thank you?
But our staff are unlikely to be affected.
However do you mean? The conscription efforts have already begun.
You really think proper society is going to let their children be put on the front lines? That's the job for the rabble and the riffraff. The artists and the visionaries will be safely on home soil.
That You raise a good point, but not all of our investments are in such lofty positions.
Your investments, possibly, though you're hardly the only one. If rumor serves right, from what I hear, Arthur is also worrying about his own portfolio.
Oh, really?
And here I thought all you kings would keep closer eyes on one another. I'm sure you're aware he's been in talks with his cousin across the river.
I wasn't. I can't imagine what he would have to discuss with him.
Oh, sweet Logar, you really can't use that pretty head of yours and work it out. Or must I explain it to you?
No, he wouldn't.
And why wouldn't he? Stone and his lackeys have the most to lose from the war, and worrying about the tower is not something he'd care for. Though I don't imagine anyone but they could come to an agreement.
And why would that be?
They share a history with Hardestat, and rumor has it they're in somewhat of a game with one another. War hurts both their chances at succeeding.
You really have been keeping up to date on news, haven't you?
Someone must. Oh, that reminds me. Do tell your child congratulations from me.
He's not done anything noteworthy recently.
Oh, has he not told you about his promotion? I'd imagine he'd be rather proud of his recent appointment as consul of the Anarchs.
His what?
I thought you'd be elated to hear of your child's accomplishments. There's no need for an outburst.
I'm fine, and I'd be appreciative if you knocked that shit off.
Well, there's certainly no need for that, Logar. We both know how dangerous an outburst would be, especially here.
Well, if all you're doing is planning on trying to cause one, I think we're done here. I appreciate the information.
I know you're listening in, Mark. If you're going to eavesdrop, at least be more subtle about it. Go. Keep an eye on him. I want to know exactly what he's planning. I'll be in my studio awaiting a full report.
The reports don't say much else. If I were a betting man, my bets would be on this lasting a while. There's fanaticism in Germany I haven't heard of since the Punic Wars.
Well, this is of concern indeed. I was hoping to be rid of this business quickly. How goes the talks with the Anarchs? I've yet to hear any word from Ace regarding them so far.
They are progressing. I met with the last of the Viscounts some days ago, the gangrel, Victor. A wasted effort. More distracted by vice and the pursuits of pleasure than anything else, though he is unlikely to object should the truce come to fruition.
Good. Stone and I have a final meeting in a fortnight, and I am confident we shall reach an agreement. He'll understand his domains are going to be worse affected by this all, especially if Hunter keeps up. Apologies, Dr. Min. I must take this. Hello, Galahad speaking. Well, I am. Very well. Send him up. Apologies, Dr. Min, but it seems we have a visitor with some urgent news.
A pleasure to make your acquaintance, gentlemen.
A pleasure, Mr.
Dunsan.
It's rare to see your family this far south.
Yes, it is. To what do we owe this occasion?
For the same reason you are in discussions with Baron Stone, I presume. It's not just the corporeal that are affected by this war.
I see. This is rather grave. Tell me what you know.
Of course, Prince. Our scout wraiths tell us there's a storm coming, one that shall ravage the lands of the living and the dead. They grow restless and fearful, and it's unlikely to be long before the more strong-willed wraiths attempt to flee.
And what are your plans to weather this storm?
The same way my family has weathered all storms before this, and we wish to extend our protections to you and your domain. It would do none of us well for Glasgow to be destroyed.
And what would you expect in return for us accepting your protection? Surely you're not offering such services for free.
Of course not. We are businessmen after all. All we ask for in return is a greater level of freedom within your domain to conduct our business. Nothing corporeal, purely spiritual. Glasgow has several locations of necromantic importance.
Of course. We would hate to endanger that lovely little promise of ours now, wouldn't we? I shall think on your offer. Now, if you have no other business, you did interrupt the meeting.
Apologies, but that is all. Good evening, gentlemen.
Moon, your thoughts?
A necromancer comes to your door, scaremongering about ghostly storms, and then offers the solution to the problem all in one. Even Elizabeth could tell you they're after something.
I'd hate to bet on the wrong horse in this race, although it couldn't hurt, allowing them some more freedom, but close eyes should be kept upon them. Make preparations for a coterie to survey the Dunsons. Work with Gemini and enlist the services of some of the lunatics and rats, of course, to keep eyes on them while they operate within our borders. I have other business to attend tonight.
Yes, Prince. Good evening.
This treaty better go through. Now that everyone is here, let's begin. War has officially broken out in Eastern Europe. The Anarchs are preparing for the worst of the effects, and the Dunsons, well, they've warned me that the Ghostlands are in turmoil. As some of you are aware, I've been in discussions with Baron Stone, working on a treaty which will ensure we all come out of this conflict as unscathed as possible.
I've been working closely with Ace and Hunter to negotiate the terms of this treaty. The Baron and his Viscounts are willing to take the current deal offered. Total peace and complete non-interference between the Camarilla and Anarchs within Glasgow, splitting the city right along the Clyde, with either side holding the rights to final death for anyone found in breach.
You really think they'll respect that deal? They'll use it long enough to plan attacks on our side, then claim they never agreed to it. Yes, which is why we shall be conducting counter-espionage. A coterie of skilled infiltrators and spies has already been assembled for this task. Though Logar does raise a point. How can we be sure the Anarchs to be trusted? That they won't use the establishment of the treaty as an opportunity to launch a surprise attack?
Because I know Stone. Some of you may not appreciate our history, but he is a man of his word. And despite our philosophical differences, he understands what it means to do what is necessary for his goals. And we still hold the better end of this deal. Control over the major metropolitan areas, while all they are left with is some underdeveloped schemes.
And what of the necromancers? I can't imagine they've offered to keep the race from us without wanting anything in return.
The coterie of spies shall also keep eyes on them, as they've asked for greater freedom within the domain. The Dunsons are businessmen first and necromancers second. While they certainly have ulterior motives, they aren't going to endanger the promise without reason. But we would be fools to give them free rein.
As Gemini says, they will be granted more freedom to operate within the Camarilla domain of Glasgow, but we will be keeping eyes on them. Of course, there are other considerations to be made with this war. Mainly, how do we plan to deal with the strains it will put upon the domain? We can't refuse to assist the Kind's war efforts.
Why not? This isn't a conflict we have any stakes in. Why shouldn't we secure our own investments and let the unprotected throw themselves into the meat grinder?
Because, Logar, we have appearances to maintain, both as mortals and to other kindred. Even you have contacts in Europe that want their own domains and investments protected. And I'm sure London would love for us to say no to their requests for aid.
Yes, and I can hardly leave all the lovely art in France and Italy to perish because of some third-rate dictator. Oh, that reminds me. Prince Villon has requested that we hold part of his personal collection within the domain. I've already agreed. I hope that's okay with everyone.
Of course.
Sounds okay.
Lovely.
Elizabeth, there is no need to make use of the blood. Paris is a valuable ally, and none of us would have disagreed with your actions.
Oh, apologies, my prince. Force of habit.
Elizabeth, I'd appreciate you not fucking with my mind again.
Now, Logar, let's stay reasonable and on track. What other preparations must be made? The Chantry can begin work warding locations of importance within the domain.
Yes, that should be a priority. While I trust Stone, I don't trust his Viscounts, and it's likely they'll attempt to send spies. Send your most trusted warlocks toward the personal havens of the Elders and the Elysium sites. Gemini, Moon, prepare the hospitals and mental institutions for an influx of the wounded and insane. Logar, Elizabeth, yous are working together to secure works of cultural importance. I don't want to lose such valuable artifacts to bombings or raids. This treaty signing is scheduled to happen in 2 weeks from tonight. I expect us to be prepared for it.
Yes,
yes,
Prince.
Prince.
Good. Now, you all have your tasks. This council meeting is adjourned.
You really think this will work? That your scheming with your pathetic excuse of a broodmate will do any good?
Logar, this is my domain. If you have problems with how I run it, you're welcome to try and claim praxis for yourself. This treaty will work because I have ensured it. Now, piss off before I lose my